What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Friday, getting set for another Titans game coming up on Sunday. This time, the home regular season opener, hosting Aaron Rodgers and the New York Football Jets. But got a big-time storyline last night in Thursday Night Football. What's that?
New York Football Jets rattled me a little bit.
Yeah, New York Football Giants and New York Football Jets. I thought I might as well put that in there. Yeah,
not sure I'd heard that one before.
Yeah, I mean, it just felt like going a little Chris Berman for no reason on a Friday morning. But gonna have a good show and an interesting show. A scary situation that happened last night, as yet again Tua Tagovailoa with a major concussion in a scary situation on a primetime standalone game. This isn't the first time that it's happened for Tua for a concussion. It's also not the first time that we've seen it on a nationally televised standalone NFL game, where the entire league is talking about Tua Tagovailoa last night and this morning, a scary situation. And once again, for the second week in a row, we're talking about a quarterback who makes a bunch of money with a big-time injury on a standalone NFL game that plays the Titans 2 weeks from now. So we had Jordan Love last Friday night in Brazil, Tua last night in Miami. They play the Titans played the Packers and the Dolphins in week 3 and week 4, respectively. I don't think the Titans are going to see either of these guys. So former quarterback alert for the Tennessee Titans, and old friend alert too. Maybe here on the show, we're talking about Tua's injury scare and the impact on the Titans that can make, including Will Levis taking care of himself. And then we'll talk about Will Levis and the Titans versus the Jets before we hit Ain't That Good News to send us to a weekend. Sam, welcome in. Hope you're off to a good start here on this Friday morning. Going to have a big-time show with a lot of things to talk about. A lot of serious conversation, but I think some fun conversation too. So what's going on?
Yeah, important show today. I'm really kind of intrigued into talking about this, gauging the tune of the chat here, figuring out, what's next for Tua, what's next for the Dolphins, and what it means for the Titans at the end of the day. So going to be a great show, like you said. Go ahead and share the show if you're joining us, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch. If you're watching on Facebook, hit that share button in the bottom right corner. If you're watching on YouTube, take the YouTube link, send it to somebody in your life, a Titans fan, an NFL fan, maybe a Tua fan, maybe Ryan Tannehill fan. I don't know. Just send it to somebody. Let them know A to Z Sports is live here on a Friday morning. Don't forget to like the show before we get started as well. That's the best way to support us before we kick it off on a Friday.
The episode officially welcoming the A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Sam Phelan, our Titans reporter for A to Z Sports.com, and we are Nashville's on-demand sports.network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us, and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. See them in Lebanon online, wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans, and you can do that by getting a quote to save you money for better health coverage with our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ. And TDOT, be part of the solution to end littering and make sure nobody trashes Tennessee this football season, and visit how you can be a part of the efforts there at nobodytrashestennessee.com. So, King VC, super chat right off the bat. Lock in, like the show, hit that like button. Some of you guys on Facebook a little slow to like button this morning, but that's okay. So hit that like button right there. And then I did see this comment coming in from Andrew. It says, I missed it. Was it bad? And this, I'm guessing, is Andrew talking about the injury to Tua Tagovailoa in the third quarter of the Thursday night game last night. The Dolphins get blown out by the Bills 31-10. It's one way to hit the under, Sam. I told you that yesterday. I picked the under. They went the under 49. But Tua was rushing for a first down on a fourth down as the Dolphins were trying to score to get back into the game in the red zone. Made contact with Damar Hamlin, ironically enough, and Tua went down limp. He did the fencing positions that we saw in 2022. It was very bad. And Sam, I don't know if you saw it live or if you went back and saw it afterwards. I did not see it live. I saw it on Twitter. Then I touched back into the game as it was already a blowout at that point.
I will be honest. I have seen the run and the contact with Damar Hamlin, and that is all that I have seen. So did not see it live and did not want to burden myself with going back and watching a slow-mo injury
Brutal.
Tua. Obviously scary for all of the reasons that we've seen with Tua over the last few years. These head injuries are recurring. I think, that is now kind of proven at this point that, the more concussions you get, the more likely you are to get another one, and the more severe the next one is going to be. Tua's health has been a concern in the past, not just his health for ability to play and be on the field, but, health long term and what his health for his actual real life, is looking like. So a very scary moment for Tua and for NFL fans, and then kind of a weird moment for the Dolphins where this is not Jordan Love where you're like, all right, 3 to 4 weeks. And Austin, there's a ton of repercussions of this that I'm interested in talking about, both with what Miami is going to do. With quarterback contracts, it wasn't really something that we necessarily planned to discuss here today. But as you were introing the show, I was sitting there being like, well, Deshaun Watson looks horrific. Daniel Jones looks horrific. Tua cannot stay healthy and is hurt again. Jordan Love gets his new deal and goes down. So the quarterbacks that have gotten paid pretty recently, I mean, there's Dak and there's a few other guys that have just gotten their big payday as well, but it hasn't exactly been pretty. And how does this potentially impact the NFL and the contracts given out to quarterbacks in the future? It's one of many different repercussions and consequences of Tua's injury that I think are worth talking about here this morning.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Love got a big deal this summer, as did Tua. On July 24th is when I think that contract came in. 4 years, $212 million. Now, I just pasted a link in the chat from our website, A2Zsports.com, where Ian Valentino of our staff did a good job of breaking down how much the Dolphins would have to pay out to Tua in this contract if Tua does hang it up because of an injury reason, which in a concussion is an injury reason. So you can check out that link. But here is from that post, the concussion history for Tua Tagovailoa. He has now officially just had 3 concussions, but we all know that those are just the ones that are diagnosed. And I think this is just an egregious situation. Going back 2 years ago, if you remember, I remember this immediately after I saw what happened to Tua last night. During the 2022 season, Tua had the initial diagnosis concussion occurred in Thursday Night Football against the Bengals. That was the first fencing where his hands go in that pose that makes everybody freak out. That was a Thursday Night Football, and that got a lot of attention because the Sunday before that Thursday night game, Tua had a situation against the Bills in week 3 of that season where he had a hard hit to his head. He got up. He stumbled and fell trying to get back to the huddle.
Viral clip. Clip goes viral, and then they, put him back out there, and he
goes out, right? And he was at first, and this because you're in the press box of Titans games, Tua Tagovailoa, questionable head injury. And it was first said head injury, then it was corrected or changed to back injury. Tua goes back out there, plays, then 4 days later plays again and has the fencing and serious concussion. And again, later on in the 2022 season, remember Skylar Thompson, who came in for Tua last night, had to play in the playoff game in Buffalo because Tua was out with another concussion. He suffered a hard hit against the Packers, didn't come out of the game. There was a clear play where he got tackled after a throw, the back of his head smacked against the turf, very strong concussion chances when something like that happens with the back of your head. He played throughout the game and then missed the rest of the season with a concussion late in the year. So that's 2 diagnosed concussions in that season. It should have been more. And then last night, that is very much a scary situation. I do want to hear this from Mike McDaniel, the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, because you could tell just the body language from the Dolphins head coach when he was being asked about Tua's well-being. He did say Tua was in good spirits, but here was the head coach of the Dolphins' Mike McDaniel last night.
What was your immediate thought when you saw him go down and into the fencing position?
My thought was concern, and I was just worried about my guy. So, not something that you ever want to be a part of. You hope not to.
Mike, obviously it's very early in the process with Tua. Do you foresee a trip to the injured reserve list, or do you have any insight on that?
As right now, I'm not really. It's more about getting a proper procedural evaluation tomorrow and taking it one day at a time. The furthest thing from my mind is, what is the timeline? I want to know. We just need to evaluate, and I'm just worried about my teammate, and like the rest of the guys are. But we'll get more information tomorrow, and then take it day by day from there.
Yeah. So Mike McDaniel, don't expect him to have a timeline, right?
Sure.
In the post-game press conference. No worries there, but there's just no way. There's no way Tua Tagovailoa can avoid injured reserve. I don't think. Like that seems absurd to me, Austin, that, we're on concussion likely 4 now in a span of 48 months. I saw somebody in the chat said earlier, and, not just, hey, had a stinger and you're concussed and you get evaluated for concussion protocol and miss the week, but like seriously scary concussions that affect your body, right? Going into a fencing position on the ground. Like, how much abuse can one man take? We hear constantly about the long-term side effects and ramifications of playing football, especially when you have consistent head injury. And we are absolutely at the point where Tua needs to think about his life after football. There's $100-something million on the table if, he can't play again. And that would be unfortunate for him and not what he wants and not what the Dolphins want, and bad situation all the way around. But at what point is enough? Like, I do think we are at that point now where I think that needs to be a legitimate question that the Dolphins ask and Tua asks, and one cannot be overlooked like the previous ones were, where he's back on the field week 5.
Sure. And here's the other crazy thing is that the Dolphins are on the hook. I said 4 years, $212 million is the full contract. The Dolphins have already paid out the $40+ million signing bonus, and that Tua has an injury protection, an injury guarantee of $167 million. So if Tua decides to retire for an injury reason, concussions or otherwise,
you got your money.
He's got it. And just to go deeper in this, when Andrew Luck retired because of injuries from the Colts,
preventative though, for
5 years ago,
in many ways,
right? But 5 years ago, when Luck did it, the Colts decided to pay out the entire contract for Andrew Luck because he was retiring so early. So the Dolphins could morally, ethically decide to do that if that's the situation. That's something for another day. Sam, I know you said you have, excuse me. I know you said you have a couple other things to get to when it comes to the Tua injury, and I saw you favorited a couple comments. So I want to get to those comments here in a second, but first I want to tell everybody about our new friends at T-Dot. Be part of the solution to end littering and make sure nobody trashes Tennessee. Did you know there are over 88 million pieces of litter on Tennessee's roadways right now? It's a huge problem, but we can all be a part of the solution. T-Dot spends over $23 million every year to clean up that litter, and they can't do it alone. You can help by making simple changes to your lifestyle. 1, by stopping littering. That's the easiest thing you can possibly do. 2, pick up litter when you see it, put it in a trash can, put it in a recycling bin, and move on with your day, but do something good for the state. And then also you can join local cleanups like A to Z Sports is going to do later on this fall. Every action counts, and Tennessee needs all of us to step up to be a part of the solution to help keep Tennessee beautiful. Visit nobodytrashestennessee.com to see how you can get involved and make a difference for your family, your kids, going out there doing something as a group. right there. NobodyTrashesTennessee.com.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. BetMGM is the sportsbook born in Vegas. And when you use the bonus code ATOZ Sports upon signup, your first bet is risk-free. It's a no-sweat bet with BetMGM. Whatever your first bet wager amount is, if your first bet misses, that money goes back into your account in the form of a bonus bet for a second chance to win big. So for this NFL and college football season, if you've got a big play this weekend on your mind, and I'll be giving you guys my play of the weekend later on the Titans game against the New York Jets, do it with BetMGM. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports and get with the sportsbook born in Vegas.
All right, so real quick, Titantonio says hit that like button and tighten up. We'll talk about Will Levis, Titans, and the Jets here in a second, but continuing the conversation about Tua, $167 million is what the Dolphins would pay Tua out at minimum with injury guarantees if Tua decides to retire. But Sam, I know you had a couple things you wanted to get to regarding the Tua concussion conversation before we move into Titans Jets.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. We talked about briefly, right? What is the ramifications for Tua, and like long term, I think you're at the point where he might need to legitimately consider looking out for his health before his love of football at this point. I think, we talked very briefly about what the consequences are going to be for NFL teams that are thinking about paying their quarterback. When you look around the league and you look at how many teams are getting bad quarterback play from a guy with over $100 million guaranteed on their deal, maybe some pause from teams in the future about just how much money or how many injury guarantees or whatnot they're giving out to their QBs. Yuri brings up an interesting point here. Is this a reason for more guys to wear the Guardian cap? A guy like Tua who has had concussion issues, I understand, right? Everybody complains it's uncomfortable. It looks stupid. I don't want to wear it during a game. Yeah. But everybody can agree this ain't worth it, right? Like looking cool and feeling free is not worth the long-term sort of head injury that Tua is dealing with. So yeah. Maybe this is, and I'm curious to see how players around the NFL sort of respond to this. It's anytime there is a serious sports injury, it does feel like the other players in that sport kind of come together and like remember where they were. I'm sure a lot of NFL players were sitting and had their thoughts with Tua last night and interested in seeing how people pivot. So
Pistol Ramsey says, I'll stop watching football if everyone starts wearing the Guardian cap. No, Pistol Ramsey, no, you won't. That is a lie. Just like all the people lied back in the national anthem situation about, I'm going to boycott. No, you won't. No, you won't. No, you will not. Nobody does that. But anyway, now Josh Wiley wore the Guardian cap week one. I didn't notice it. To be honest, watching the game, now Josh Wiley didn't play a bunch of snaps, but I honestly did not notice the Guardian cap. I think it would be smart for players with multiple concussions to wear the Guardian cap. And for the Titans, that's Josh Wiley. That's Amani Hooker for sure. Could probably be out there because I feel like he's had multiple concussions. That's probably about it. And honestly, here's something else that I would do. I would have my offensive linemen wear the Guardian cap. Not just for their own health, but I'm protecting my quarterback's hand. I just thought about this, right? Because we've seen broken hand, right? Falling through, hit your hand on a helmet. That hurts. Maybe it doesn't break, but it's sore and it's bruised. Well, that's a little bit of extra cushion to not smack your hand going full throttle on a throw on a helmet of a 300-pound, 6'6" guy in front of you. I think that would make a lot of sense. And plus micro contact. Like it's the consistent hitting of the head and tapping of the helmet from offensive lineman to defensive lineman constantly 60 times a game. That adds up long-term to CTE type stuff.
Totally.
Not just the big, massive hit like we saw with Tua, but just the micro contact that's made, every play of the game.
Absolutely. Hey, it's an interesting point. Austin, and then I think the last little detail here, the last sort of branch off of this tree when having this Tua conversation is really just in regards to those Miami Dolphins who will host the Tennessee Titans for Monday Night Football in week 4. And you now have a situation where the Titans are probably going to get Malik Willis in week 3, maybe Sean Clifford. We'll see how Malik does in week 2 and if he can maintain the opportunity to play in week 3 when they come to Nissan Stadium. But you're going to get a less than stellar Packers team because of the quarterback play that will be coming to town. And now you might be getting a less than stellar Dolphins team when you go to Miami week 4. And maybe it is Skylar Thompson. Maybe it's Ryan Tannehill. Maybe Ryan Tannehill. I mean, we've been sort of sitting back wondering, is Ryan Tannehill going to play this season? Is there a situation out there where he can pull the Joe Flacco and find the open job and, jump on a contract? Jordan Love, I thought, was the opportunity at first. That is probably not going to be as long-term as people initially thought. So Green Bay, not the best situation for Tannehill. He probably winds up back on the bench by like week 6. But Miami right now, that could be something. There could be something in Miami, especially if this is going to be a thing for Tua for the whole season, especially if this is a retirement situation. Like, really, who knows how severe this Tua Tagovailoa situation is going to be in the future. So,
and this would be a return to Miami, right?
A return to Miami, end the career back where it all started with Ryan Tannehill. I don't hate it.
So, all right, from a football standpoint, it makes all the sense in the world. But this is way more complicated than just a football conversation, because there is a lot of really interesting dynamics of relationship between Ryan Tannehill and the Miami Dolphins organization. So I just want to ask this question to everybody. Like, do you think Ryan Tannehill would actually take that job? And I want to put yourselves in the shoes of Ryan Tannehill, because they shipped that guy out of town for a 4th-round draft pick. It was really nuts. And they paid his contract to send him to the Titans to get them the hell out. And the Dolphins fan base has been very vocal over the years about how they do not like Ryan Tannehill. And Jay says Tannehill lives in Miami. I don't know if he's directly Miami or if he's in South Florida in general, Fort Lauderdale, South Beach, whatever it is. He is definitely in the area quite a bit. So I want to ask the question, do you guys think Ryan Tannehill would take that Dolphins job? Because I'm very curious about that, if he would actually take the job, or if there's other personal situations to get into play. But before we get to all of your answers, I'll put up a YouTube poll as well. Sam, Ryan Tannehill likes boats. I like boats. We were on a boat on Monday, and you can take a boat to the Titans game on Sunday. That's awesome, because guess what? Parking is going to be a nightmare for all of Titans home games at Nissan Stadium from now until about 2035, because they have to build the new stadium. They got to tear the old stadium down. They got to clean everything up, bring up more development. For parking, nightmare is going to happen. So you can take a boat to the game and get around all of the parking nightmare, all the traffic before and after, by joining our guys at the Game Day Water Taxi of the NashvilleWaterTaxi.com, presented by our friends at Pontoon Saloon. So here's how you do it. Sam and I talked about this on Monday. You go to the NashvilleWaterTaxi.com. You can park your car there. It's a 10-minute boat ride from their marina to the stadium. It's $20 a head to and from the game, and $25 for parking. If you sign up early, it's $15 for parking. So Sam and I could get there for $55 and back and have a hell of a time and take 2 boat rides and not get stuck in all the traffic.
You can bring a drink on the boat.
You can bring 2 drinks on the boat. I was telling my dad this yesterday. You bring 2 drinks on the boat, 1 to drink on the boat and 1 to walk off still unopened off the pier, and then walk into the stadium and finish your second drink. So that's how you do things. The NashvilleWaterTaxi.com is where to book the Game Day Water Taxi. So everybody go check that out for this Jets game and the Packers game next week. Rain or shine, the NashvilleWaterTaxi.com. Sam, I'll send you to the chat. Would Ryan Tannehill take this job? Would he take the Dolphins job? I want to see what people are saying.
All right. Would Ryan Tannehill take the Dolphins job? That is the question. Let's see. Andre says the Dolphins fans hate Tannehill, so he maybe doesn't think so. Jay says, yes, he would. Lewis says, yup. Chef Rand says money talks. Darren says if he's Tanny, no. He says F him. Nope, I'm not taking that job if Darren is Ryan Tannehill. Major Key says yes, he still lives there. Why wouldn't he? Says Edward, yes.
There's a lot like,
yes,
why wouldn't he? Why
he
wouldn't
still
he?
would.
There are
Yeah.
reasons why he wouldn't.
Yeah, let's see. We've got a no way, says Rooney. Curtis says no, that he would not. Titans Kyle says probably he wants a contender. Cap says yes. Hello Lady says yes, but they don't want him back. Yes, to get paid from Stevie. Yes, the new coaching staff in Miami. Let's see. We've got, is it the same GM from
No,
Malachi?
it is not.
Not the same GM.
But
It's
it
not
is the same
coach.
owner.
It is the same ownership
Yeah.
group. Yeah, if he
And the
wants
same
a job,
fan base.
says Mike Peck. Lewis, Matt, Will, Willie says yes. Logan Wood says absolutely not. Jonathan says no. So a majority say yes. And Austin, I think you are saying no, Ryan Tannehill would not. So make the case. Why would Ryan Tannehill not take this job?
I don't think he would, because I think there is too much dirty water in the middle of the Dolphins and Ryan Tannehill. I think there's bad blood. I think there's a bad taste in his mouth about how he was talked about once he was gone. I think it's Stephen Ross, the owner, who is not exactly the cleanest guy, trying to tank games, trying to break NFL rules, and having Tom Brady be a minority owner. All these other things that Stephen Ross has been docked money and draft picks for over the year. Ryan Tannehill remembers all this stuff. And he's also not an idiot too. And he's seen all of the awful things that the Miami Dolphins fan base has talked about him for the last 6 to 7 years. So I don't think he would do it. I don't think Ryan Tannehill is desperate to play in the NFL this year. And I know you heard the Diana Rossini and Chase Daniel interview with Ryan Tannehill back in the summer when he was in the Bahamas with his family. He was out there doing like crazy spear fishing. He was just on a boat, just having a fun time, relaxing with his family. Like, Ryan Tannehill signed 2 contracts worth over $100 million. Like, he doesn't have to do anything. And he's 35 years old, right? Like, he doesn't have to, and he's been hurt the last 2+ years. I don't think Ryan Tannehill returns the Dolphins. I think the football situation might make sense with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, the running backs they have with A-Chain and others right there. I just don't think he's going to do it. I don't think he wants to play that bad, because he said in the interview, it has to be the right situation. And the Dolphins might be the right football situation and opportunity if Tua is out for a long time, but the right situation includes the franchise and the ownership and the culture that he would be put into. And I don't think Ryan Tannehill wants to go back to the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I disagree. I think Ryan Tannehill wants to play more than people think he does. I think Ryan Tannehill is not done in the NFL. I don't think he wants to be done in the NFL. I just don't think Ryan Tannehill wants to be a backup. I don't think Ryan Tannehill wants to play for a team that's going to look like the 2023 Titans did, where they don't give him much help and it's, difficult to win games and it's just hard on your body for no real reward at the end of the tunnel. I don't think he wants to go and move to Buffalo or Green Bay or Minnesota. Okay. I think Ryan Tannehill in Miami, a place that he loves, a place that his kids love, a place that his wife loves, a place that they live in the off season, a place that he's familiar with, and an opportunity that he didn't have in Miami before to throw to guys like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, who make your life easier, and Devon A-Chain and Raheem Mostert, and all of the weapons and tools and pieces, and an offensive head coach in Mike McDaniel. Miami is the right situation for Ryan Tannehill. I think he does still want to play in the league, and this is one that I would like to see happen, and one that I think Ryan Tannehill would jump on if the opportunity came knocking. Do I think Miami will call him? I don't know. Right?
It's a two-way thing, right? Like, does Stephen Ross want to make that? It's billionaires usually don't like going back to things they already moved on from.
Sure.
And Ryan Tannehill, a 9-figure millionaires or eight-figure millionaires don't like going back to things that they've already moved on from too. I think that is where things are very different with these people is that they don't want to kind of have that reunite situation.
Yeah, I don't think this is a money thing for Ryan Tannehill either. I know some people in the chat said, yeah, money talks, go get paid. He doesn't need the money. Like, we've been over that. It's a 1-year deal. It probably wouldn't come all that expensive for Miami to go and bring in Ryan Tannehill for the rest of the season. I don't know exactly what Joe Flacco got last year, but I don't believe it was anything substantial. This is a football opportunity for Ryan Tannehill and something that I think is important to him. Austin, I never got the sense in Ryan Tannehill's last few years with the Titans that he was satisfied with his career. I think that Cincinnati game still lingers in the back of his mind. I think the fact that he had a team capable of winning the Super Bowl and, 7 times, 8 times out of 10, the Titans probably win that game and advance to the AFC Championship game with legitimate prospects of going to the Super Bowl. It ended not great, like worse than not great. It ended really, really poorly. And then, he stuck it out and still believed he had good football left in him, was hoping to, get an opportunity to redeem himself, had the ankle injury in 2022 that sidelined him, and the Titans went on a big losing streak, a 7-game losing streak to end the season that was kind of out of Ryan Tannehill's control, that kept them out of the playoffs. And then, in 2023, another injury and a rough start to the year ends his time in Tennessee. But I still believe Ryan Tannehill thinks there's good football to be played in his career. And I think given the opportunity to go and be on a team that immediately is a playoff contender, he would take it.
Okay, that's fair enough. I think we're on opposite ends of this here. Let's go to the poll on YouTube. I see 73% of the answers are yes. Ryan Tannehill would take the Dolphins QB job if Tua's done for a while. I say no. I just don't think Ryan Tannehill is that desperate. I think Ryan Tannehill wants to play. I just don't think he's that desperate to go back to where it all began and then back to where it ruined a little bit there. So fair answer from you. I still believe my thoughts, and we'll kind of see what happens.
I hope it happens. I would love to see Malik Willis and Ryan Tannehill in back-to-back weeks for the Titans.
Right now, Andre says, ask the inverse. It's do we think the Dolphins would call Ryan Tannehill? And I think that's the thing that we have to wait on.
That's the question.
Like Mike McDaniel said, they're trying to take an evaluation day by day. Tua's going to be back in the facility today. It was a home game, so there's no travel back. So he gets to wake up, go in for evaluation, and get the care that he needs with his situation and the concussion right now. I think it's the Dolphins also have the mini bye, right? And then they play the Titans in 16 days from now. So the Packers reportedly reached out to Ryan Tannehill and nothing happened. Maybe that's because Jordan Love got the news that he might be back sooner than maybe Tannehill would be okay with coming in for a short bridge. But I think Tua, because of this being the third, probably fourth or more concussion that he's gotten, I think this is a longer bridge opportunity where the football thing makes sense. It's just the egos and the relationship is where I am doubting the overall situation.
All right. We'll find out. Hopefully.
We sure will.
I need a report, coming stat from somebody on are the Dolphins going to call Ryan Tannehill?
Well, I mean, maybe you can call Ryan Tannehill.
Sure. I will.
Give Tannehill a ring. All right. So let's move into the Titans and Jets conversation here on the show today, because we do have, I think, the other impact of this Tua situation is the fact of how it happened. Tua running for a first down, not sliding, throwing his body into it, which is exactly what Will Levis did against the Bears a few times. And Will Levis was asked about if he thought that was the right move, or was asked about, is he gonna slide? And here was that back and forth with Will Levis and reporters on Wednesday.
From last year, from the preseason, with you not sliding and taking some hits, you've said you'll learn from that, and you dove into contact in this game rather than showing that you've learned from those things. So can you understand that there's some doubt about I'll learn from it based on the fact that the one example we have, you haven't shown that you've learned from it?
Yeah, I think it was I was looking forward to putting that on display a little bit. But I think the couple opportunities where I did have the ability to pull it down and try to get that first down, I just felt like it was right in that area where if I slid, I wouldn't have got it, and I just needed to just be able to fall forward for a couple more. So I think in third downs or in certain situations, it's going to be more critical for me to know where the sticks are once I get past them to be able to get down. And so I'm not just guessing and hoping that I need a few more or thinking that I need a few more before I get the first. But no, it was something that I was thinking of. But I just think it was just those couple weird situations where I thought I needed a couple yards to get us that first.
So that's that situation. Now, were they that close? Were they bang, bang? I get the idea of not wanting to slide because as soon as you start the slide, move and give up yourself, that's when you're down. But, he was way beyond the sticks. And I think that's just something that, again, like we talked about it some yesterday, got to live to play another day from Will Levis. And if he watched that game last night, I'm sure he at least saw what happened to Tua. That's a really good example, unfortunately for Tua, of things can go very wrong, whether it's your ribs, your back, or a concussion where you're now no longer able to help your team in that situation. And I think Will Levis needs to really learn from that to play another down.
Yeah, I mean, that would be nice. I have some more doubt about as much belief as I have in Will Levis as a quarterback and that things will get better. This is one area that I think I do have some doubt. I don't necessarily think a zebra is going to change its stripes here. I think, Will Levis is a guy who is going to put his body on the line and go get the extra yards. There are some quarterbacks who are just built like that. Josh Allen, Will Levis, Jay Cutler, guys that when they're on the run, they're going to take that dive and initiate the contact to pick up the first down. I think that's the competitor that he is. And as much as Will would like to say, hey, I can slide, I know when to slide, in the heat of the moment, he starts getting close to those first down sticks. I just don't know if it's going to happen. So this is one area that I'm not sure Will is ever going to change. I think it's okay. I don't know if it's as big of a deal as we make it out to be. I know Tua got hurt yesterday running for a first down, right? But how often have quarterback head injuries actually occurred on a run play? I think defenders know you can't hit the quarterback, in the head, and that will be a flag regardless. And so they tend to chill out with that a little bit.
Yeah, but again,
Tua's whole concussion issue was not on a run; it was on a sack. So he got thrown to the ground on a sack, and that's what kind of spiraled all of
the first 3 times.
Yeah, right. But I don't know, that. I don't know if this is as big of a deal as we make it out to be all the time for Will. And I'll remind you that both Ryan Tannehill and Will Levis's injuries have been occurred on a sack and not on running the football. So
yes. Ankle injuries because of bad offensive line play.
Right. We use Will running as hey, protect yourself. There's an injury history there. But the injuries have occurred in the pocket. So, I don't know if this is just quite as big of a deal. Yes, you want your quarterback to protect themselves. I think this is part of the competitive flair that Will has that may just never change. And, hopefully that's okay.
I think the thing is, and Malachi says, it's not the concussions. It's the ribs, the shoulders, his right arm. And that's where I'm at too. And it's also getting hurt in the pocket is something quarterbacks most of the time, in general, they don't control that. If they're holding on to the ball forever and can't throw it, then yes, it's their fault. But if they are not in control of protecting themselves in a way because of what their job is in the pocket, they are in control of how they protect themselves when they're running the ball for a first down or for whatever, to have the ability to submarine dive instead of launch yourself into a 6'4", 250-pound linebacker like Edmonds is. Or do what Tua did and launch yourself and throw your head and shoulder at a safety. It is in their control to protect themselves. And Tua didn't do it last night. And now he's in a very serious situation again. Will Levis didn't do it on Sunday, and he had a heating pad on his back and ribs in the second half. And, I think he's fine, but at some point, he won't be fine because he's been doing it too often.
Okay. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
All right, let's get to this question here to get the Jets conversation rolling. What do you need to see from Will Levis versus the Jets to settle your fears of the Titans?
Statistically,
Yeah.
let's get into
What?
some stat lines, right?
Yeah.
Or I mean, it doesn't have to be the full line. Maybe it's a certain yard threshold. Maybe it's a certain touchdown threshold. Maybe it's a certain number of interceptions or not a certain number of interceptions. So stat wise, right?
Yes, very clear. Stat wise, what do you want to see from Levis to make you settle your fears about the Titans quarterback? So, stat line here from Will Levis against the Jets to make you feel good. Like, I also want to say, don't just say the Falcons game because, like, obviously, we would all feel a lot better if he does the Falcons game again. But there are things he can do that are not the Falcons game that make you feel better. So I want to know kind of what would settle your fears from Will Levis from a stat standpoint. We've been talking a lot about injuries this morning because of Tua and the injuries that happen in life. You can go to the Bone and Joint Institute here locally in Franklin, right off of I-65 and Highway 96. They have the experts and the resources there at the Bone and Joint Institute to take care of you, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. If you watched our Doc Talk conversation on Tuesday about DeAndre Hopkins MCL, you heard D-Hop tell Paul Kaharski last week, tore my MCL. You heard him yesterday saying, sprained my MCL. Well, if you watch Doc Talk, you would know every MCL injury is technically a sprain, whether it's fully torn or just partially torn. They're all sprains. Sprains are tears and tears are sprains. So that's how that works because Dr. Colin Looney educated us on that situation on Tuesday. So whenever injuries happen in life, turn to the Bone and Joint Institute and book an appointment, boneandjointtn.org.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Very soon here, I've got a pick for Titans, Jets, the home opener on Sunday. You have to stay dialed into the show because I'm giving you a pick that I think is free money. Why would you not stay tuned for just a little bit to hear what I've got to say? But with the sportsbook born in Vegas, you can use the bonus code ATOZ Sports, and even if your first bet misses, you get that money back into your account in the form of a bonus bet up to $1,500. It's betmgm.com, the sportsbook born in Vegas.
All right, A to Z Sports here live on the Friday. Make sure you hit that like button. Hit the like button now. Talking Jets, Titans as that game is just a couple days away. Again, Samuel have Titans at 2 today. 615 sessions with Buck as well later on. And then Easton and I will have our pregame show on Sunday as well. So tons of opportunities for us to talk deeper Titans and Jets. But we'll start off by asking, what do you need to see from Will Levis statistically against the Jets to settle these fears from the Titans quarterback? So, Sam, I'll send you to the chat on Facebook, on YouTube to see where people are landing with this. And I like what I'm seeing here because it's stats, but it's different types of numbers and results from Levis. So I'm curious to see where the chat goes with everything.
Hill says no turnovers. Ashley says no interceptions or fumbles is a start. No interceptions from Jonathan. Steve wants 200 yards and a touchdown. Jake Hughes wants a 65% completion rate with 0 turnovers. Jonathan Hernandez wants 0 fumbles. We've got 201 and no turnovers from Titans Kyle, 250 yards with no turnovers from Steve Manning, 0 interceptions, no turnovers, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no dumb picks from Yuri, which I actually like that qualification.
I do too.
Because if he's taking a shot on 3rd and 14 at like towards the end of the half or something like that, and you throw a deep interception and it's an arm punt, you feel okay. Like you're like, all right, whatever. It doesn't count as an interception, right? Versus dumb picks, which we've seen quite a few of. No turnovers in the Hurricane from Lucas Burks, over 250 passing yards and no turnovers. Daniel says he wants Ridley to have 80 yards and a touchdown, which would make him feel better about Levis, which is an interesting way of viewing this. 250 and 2 touchdowns, no turnovers and 200 yards, 0 turnovers, 0 turnovers. We're all kind of over the place here. I think the common things, Austin, are 200 yards, no turnovers. Those seem to be the 2 most common things brought up by the chat.
Were you because I was surprised about the 200 yards thing. I wasn't expecting the chat to all be like, yeah, 200 yards passing. Were you?
Well, that was kind of the number that was in my head. So really? I actually fall in line with the chat here. I think, I need to see Will Levis move the ball like through the air a little bit more. And as much for Will Levis as it is for Brian Callahan for me, right? Like if you have this offensive head coach, you have DeAndre Hopkins back fully healthy with Calvin Ridley, and like we hyped up some of like the options and weapons that Will Levis has. You can't come out again and go less than 200 yards passing. Like I need to see, you did it so many times last year. Go get 200 yards. Go take care of the football. I totally agree with the chat. I don't think touchdowns matters all that much to me, because I think there's a world where Will Levis leads the Titans down the field and Tony Pollard or Taj Spears punch the ball into the end zone. Yeah. And it's a successful day, and Will does a great job, in the game, and manages the game and calms a lot of those fears. But we need 200 yards passing, and let's limit the turnovers. Let's have no turnovers. And if you can do both of those two things and the Titans move the ball and you don't make a big mistake, I approve, right? And I think, we can't have this 300-yard standard. I would love it if it was like over 250, but let's get Will looking closer to the Will that we thought he was going to be in the regular season against a good Jets defense, and everything will be all right.
Our research staff behind the scenes, Easton Freeze, just texted us. Will Levis has thrown under 200 yards in 6 of his last 8 games. The Jets defense ranked 3rd in passing yards allowed in 2023. And, the Jets defense is mostly the same, I think, from 2023 to this year. Now, the Niners could do whatever they wanted to against them on Monday night without Christian McCaffrey. The Titans offense is very different from last year with, the 6 of his last 8 games stat. Now, week 1 counts. I'm not worried about yards. Like, I think yards will come if the right things are done. I'm not going to focus I'm settled with my fears about what Levis, because he hit a certain yard threshold, because that could also mean,
it is relative, right? Like, if he's at 190 versus 210, I'm not going to be like 190 failure, 210 looks good. Yeah. But like, it's more about, for me, it's like if Will Levis comes out and has 120 yards passing and 1 touchdown, like you might be like, all right, he didn't turn the ball over, but he only threw for 120 yards passing, and you have to move the ball down the field.
Sure, but what if they run for 170 and they get a massive lead early, and maybe they get a defensive opportunity?
Sure.
Right? Like, so like, I'm just saying, like, I'm going to go as like, I want Will Levis. I love the 65% completion percentage, because he was 59.4, which is basically what
I hate that. I hate the completion percentage, because he was around 65 for almost, and I noted this in the press box in real time. While the Titans offense was sucking before like the last drive of the game, where there was a couple of incomplete passes that lowered that percentage, Levis was consistently around 65% completion the entire game in Chicago. It didn't matter, because he was taking 2 and 3 yard dump offs that didn't, like,
I hear that.
It's those high percentage looks that Brian Callahan has talked about that haven't resulted in offense for the Titans. It didn't result in offense against Seattle in joint practices. It didn't result in offense against Chicago in the 2 times that we've seen this Titans offense play against another starting defense. So I would much rather Will have a 59% completion percentage and hit some 20 to 30 yard throws and move the ball down the field with his arm than just be like, hey, he was efficient out there, but who cares if it's a bunch of checkdowns?
I hear you. But here's another point too. Rashid says, if it's raining, you're not throwing the ball around, Sam. And there's a strong potential that there's going to be the fringe, hurricane stuff going on, and it's going to be wet, right? Like, they had the hoses out there at practice, which is some of the funniest, dumbest,
I will
hilarious.
Say good for them. They got a practice in the rain yesterday. Like, when we went out there at the end of practice to go into the locker room, it was coming down pretty hard rain wise. The balls were soaking wet, and I was like, wow, what a productive practice this is for the Titans. Like, genuinely, I'm like, if they end up playing on Sunday and it ends up being similar conditions, they will have now had a practice in those conditions to throw the ball. Like I was watching, they were just like had a hose spraying the balls,
great. Yeah.
but like, not the video that you might have seen. It was a separate like
Okay.
side thing where the quarterbacks are doing these throws on the run and they're literally just spraying the balls with a hose before the snap. And I was just like, this is great. Like Will Levis throwing some wobbly passes, but I'm like, it's good. He's getting some reps with like a wet ball and just trying to figure out like how to handle
that matters. Because
matters.
Guess what it didn't do the entirety of training camp? Rain. Like it did not rain one day at Titans training camp for like 5 consecutive weeks. We all know that.
I'm almost rooting for rain on Sunday. I think rain works in the Titans' favor in this game. So.
I do too. And I also have something that if it does rain, my bet is going to go towards that because I think the Titans have a very distinct advantage if it is rainy.
Okay.
So, all right. So, but I think for what I need to see from Levis, I want to see 65 plus completion percentage because I understand your point. Your point's very valid. I think your point about completion percentage is similar to my point against the yards threshold, right? But I want to see these things parlayed together of completing the football, moving the football down the field, and protecting the ball. Like I'm not worried if the Titans offense can score 3 touchdowns, then I think Will Levis is completing 65% of his passes and he's not turning the ball over like the dumb turnovers like we're saying. That is what I want to see. Because I think if the Titans offense scores 3 touchdowns at minimum, then I think Will Levis is doing enough for this offense to win the football game, and he's completing passes and not making the death pick. So those are if
they score 3 touchdowns, like what are we talking about? Like we're gonna all be feeling pretty good.
Well, they need a second half touchdown for all of our sanity.
Yeah, totally.
All right, you ready to get to this bet?
Yeah, let's do it.
I am too, because I'm kind of fired up for this. So here's our BetMGM pick of the week for the Titans game. We're going to start doing this every Friday too here for BetMGM. But first, real quick, Farm Bureau Health Plans are where you should turn for all of your health coverage needs. If you are looking around like, I don't know how much I pay for my health coverage. Well, you're probably paying a lot. And you can play less and also get better coverage with Farm Bureau Health Plans. They've done this for Tennesseans for over 78 years and can help you out as well, just like they have Zach Bingham, just like they have others with A to Z Sports. Regardless of your situation, whether you've got a growing family, an older family, or maybe you're out there by yourself, single entrepreneur, independent contractor, and you don't have coverage from your company or whatever it may be, Farm Bureau Health Plans can help you out as well. And go get a quote by using our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ with Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Ready for this bet?
Let's do it.
Brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. I am looking at Titans Jets for the home opener, and I'm listening very closely to what Brian Callahan had to say to Titans media. And one thing that Brian Callahan said, that's on me. Hand up, I would like to change that moving forward. Callahan pointed out the fact that Taj Spears only got 4 carries in the opening game against Chicago. Tony Pollard got 16. That's not how that's supposed to go at all. What we have heard all training camp is that this is going to be a more even split, even touches for the 2 backs. I think we will continue to see more even touches for the 2 running backs moving forward. And for a guy that had, an efficient rookie season and a very efficient day with, I think, well over 5 yards per carry against the Chicago Bears, I am taking the over Taj Spears, 23.5 rushing yards. I am hammering over 23.5. I honestly had a double take because I could not believe that was the line. I think if he gets 6 carries, it probably goes over. So 23.5 in a home opener for Taj Spears. I think we see more of him. I think he goes well over, probably over 40 yards. I might even take an alt line, but 23.5 is the number right now on BetMGM. It's -110. That is my pick of the week, and I'm taking it to the bank.
And I think get that before it goes up in yards and before the odds get less favorable for you. Like -110 at 23.5, jump on it. And I saw the same thing this morning. It's not my bet, but we're thinking the same wavelength. And so my rain thought here is that in rain games, it benefits offensive skill players who have good controlled quickness. Isaiah Pacheco runs like he's wearing Timberland boots. Like that's the joke, right? He's physical, but it's not like controlled quickness or explosive ability. It's kind of wild. So when it's rainy, Isaiah Pacheco is more prone to slip because it's kind of all over the place wearing his blue jeans. But Tony Pollard, I think, is also a very controlled quickness player. And so when it's rainy, Tony Pollard and Taj Spears, by keeping their feet underneath their hips when they are making cuts and jump cuts, that is where they're going to be able to keep their balance, not slip, be quick, and make defenders fall. So I love both Tony Pollard and Taj Spears receiving yard totals. Last week, Tony Pollard was 11.5. He hit that with 12. Last week, Taj Spears was 15.5. He went under, but he had 4 catches because the Bears tackled so well. If it was raining in Chicago, I think Tajay makes one guy miss and he gets over 15.5. I also think because he went under last week, that number might drop to 14.5. So I like both. They're not out yet, but keep an eye on it on BetMGM. I like both Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears receiving yard total, especially if it's raining, because that means Will Levis is probably not throwing the ball down the field as much with intermediate or deep routes. Maybe it's more checkdowns. And Brian Callahan also said his screen game sucked on Sunday versus the Bears, and it's going to be better too. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, I like betting on these Titans running backs. I'm feeling really good about that.
Until we learn more about DeAndre Hopkins and until we learn more about Calvin Ridley, I'm not touching any receiver numbers.
Totally. No, but like 23.5 rushing yards.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Over.
So we both like those overs right there. All right, Sam, it is Friday, which means we have to wrap up this week with Ain't That Good News. If you have good news to share in the chat, bring it on. It's Ain't That Good News time to send us the week. And shout out to our friends at Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon. Save money on that ride by getting out of downtown and go to Lebanon. Say hey to Payne Bone while you're there and get a new ride. WilsonCountyHyundai.com. So good news, good news, good news. Throw your good news in the chat. We want to see your good news. We hope we get good news from Tua Tagovailoa and that his concussion is maybe not as bad as it looked originally. I still think that should not change the way the Dolphins handle that, but hopefully Tua is all good for this. So Roy says no score for the game. Guys, we've been doing this for years. There is a pregame show on Sunday where Easton and I will give our score predictions. Sam, you've got Titans at 2 later today. If you want to get,
I'll probably do that on Titans at 2. Yeah, because I would have to think about it just a second more. So I'll tease that. Was going to do Titans at 2 yesterday. Had some issues over at Titans facility with trying to find a space to set up for the show. So we'll have it today instead. Titans at 2 will go live on YouTube at 2 p.m. And so I will have my final score prediction packed in there.
There you go. Okay, good news. Sam, I'm going to start with some good news. I did see a funny good news. Demetrius, good news. Shannon Sharp still employed after his live audio with Michelle. I mean, good for Unc Shannon right there.
Good for Shannon.
Deborah headed to the home opener this Sunday. Deborah, if you missed it, if you need some better way to park and to get to the game, the NashvilleWaterTaxi.com. And to be honest, this is really cool. Like Sam and I rode that water taxi boat from their marina.
The view of the city.
Awesome.
It is top tier. The view of the city is unbelievable. There is not a better experience because you can park your car and tailgate in their lot, get your drinks going, tailgate in the lot, take a drink on the boat, drink on the boat, bring a drink for the parking lot of the stadium. Once you arrive in like 10, 15 minutes, you get to the stadium, you drink your other drink, you head into the stadium, you get a beautiful view of the city. That's the way. Nashville Water Taxi is the way to get to the game. And really I will be disappointed in anybody who watches A to Z Sports who shows up to the game in parks. And you're going to regret it. I'm going to let you know right now that you're going to regret it. And
guess what? In a lot of situations, it will be cheaper to take the fun boat ride than to park downtown.
Totally.
We got how much is it? So if you pre-book on their website, it is $15 per car to park. If you don't, it's $25. So pre-book, guys. And they're also going to have food trucks there if enough people pre-book. This is the first time they're doing it. But then it's $20 a person to ride the boat to and from the stadium. And it's literally going to let you out right under the pedestrian bridge at the stadium. It is like you could not have a better experience. So like Sam and I, if we took one car, it would cost the both of us $55. If you're going to park downtown on the downtown side, it'll be like 75 plus easily. So rain or shine, do it because it's phenomenal. So check that out with the Nashville water taxi. Okay, more good news. I see William Scott saying, woke up today. Yep, that's good news right there. Titans Kyle says, good news, have his Spartan races this weekend, feeling healthy and ready. Have you ever done a Spartan race?
I've not. Would love to do a Spartan race or a Tough Mudder or something. It'd be fun. That
sounds like, for some reason, like that type of physical activity where I just know I'm going to get all like dirty and muddy and gross. I kind of am into that.
I mean, it's like an embrace it thing, right? Once you've embraced it and like it's a way of entertaining very hard workout. So
yeah, absolutely. Okay. So more good news. American Top. It's Sam, season 47 of Survivor is less than a week away at this point. So I'm sure you're going to have maybe some things to talk about that. Arika says, wife and I have a date night to see Boys to Men today.
Ooh.
I've been wanting to see them since he was a kid. That is pretty awesome. I did see Karen had some good news I was going to get to. Nashville SC game Saturday, Titans on Sunday. Bork says he's got a job interview. Brad says he's lost 30 pounds in a month and a half. That is awesome. That's a lot of weight to lose in a month and a half. And Joshua says, good news, season 47 of Survivor starts on Wednesday. Sam, I'll let you take it away. What's your good news?
I mean, that's my good news. We are 5 days away now from season 47 of Survivor premiering on CBS. I'm fired up. I'm very excited. So cannot wait for everybody to tune in and get to check it out. I'm excited for tomorrow as well. Tomorrow afternoon downtown, Survivor will be having a beach drop event for Nashville Survivor fans with a lot of, notable Survivor players and alumni and opportunities to compete in challenges. And I will be there. So, I'm very, very excited to get to meet some Survivor fans at the event on Saturday. Maybe some A to Z fans as well. Gonna head down there and say what's up. But I'm pumped. Going to be a big week, and this is our last good news before the premiere. So
I'm honestly pretty pumped up about it. I think it's gonna be fun. That's not my good news because I knew that was going to be your good news. My good news is the Vols play late Saturday night, which means Saturday. It is setting up the house, and this is our first Halloween season in this house. And we are working on our spooky season setup this Saturday. So I have to take my opportunities with football schedules of when to find the right windows to have the day to take advantage.
It's a little early, but I'll take it.
Yeah, but it's a little early, but you never know. And then all of a sudden it might be too late because of how football season works. So I might as well do it early than do it too late.
Yeah, I have a second good news that you just reminded me of talking about the Vols. The Northern Illinois Huskies are ranked number 25, and I'm really happy about it. Man, what a time. The University of Illinois, Big Ten Conference of Champions, is, number 26 right off the list. So it's a good time to be me watching college football. So it's the first time NIU has been ranked since 2013, and feels nice to be in the ranking. They're actually in the current projected ESPN college football playoff. Northern Illinois is projected as the 12 seed, right. It's like
flavor of the week.
I may or may not have said Northern Illinois college football playoff like 2 weeks ago, but I may or may not have said it. I think I did on the show. So I'm getting really excited and fired up right now. The thing that I like that's good news is that Northern does not play this weekend. They play Buffalo next weekend. This allows me to just like enjoy the good vibes for another week. They play Buffalo at home It's a game that I hope that they would be able to win. They are favored in the game. They are a better team than Buffalo. They have NC State on the road after that, which will be a tough game for them for sure. But just the idea of like, hey, we get another week of riding the high of the Notre Dame upset is 2 thumbs up for me. And shout out to your ranked NIU Huskies.
I mean, honestly, though, they could make the playoff because, and I don't know.
Man, the MAC is really good and competitive. The thing with the MAC is that you can be Northern and be a great team to match up against all of these other Power 5.
Well, because remember this, a group of 5, a non-Power 4 conference team, the highest rank gets an automatic bid.
True.
So the fact that
as
Northern,
long as, if they are the only group of 5 team ranked in, I mean, it's like them, Boise State, like those are the teams that are sort of in contention for it right now.
But the fact is that Northern is ranked, which is a big deal because now if they take care of Buffalo, UMass, Bowling Green, Toledo, Ball State, Western Michigan, Akron, Miami of Ohio, Central Michigan, like they're like NC State is a great other group of 4 game for them. Like that's a winnable game for them.
Does I don't know the rule on this. Does a group of 5 game get in? A group of 5 team get in if there's none of them ranked. But let's say Northern is like AP number 28 or something like that, and they're the highest. Are they or college?
I just know the highest ranked group of 5 or whatever team gets the automatic bid.
Buffalo is a game that they can win, even if they lose to NC State, which is a difficult game when you're on the road against a Power 5 team that I know Tennessee blew them out, but Tennessee's the top. Is an unbelievable
Western Carolina was beating NC State in the 4th quarter in the week 1.
That is true. I mean, we'll see how they do that. There's a lot of winnable games on the schedule.
If you can win at Notre Dame, you can beat NC State in Raleigh.
They can, but I don't know if it should be the expectation that they pick up another boneyard victory against NC State. You know, there is still a talent discrepancy when you view Northern Illinois and North Carolina State. Although that would be a nice revenge game against former NIU coach Dave Dorian. So,
nice thing. I had no idea that Dave Doran was an NIU coach.
Oh, come on. Dave Doran was the NIU coach. Took him to the Orange Bowl.
Was that when Garrett Wolf was a running back?
No. Well, he was the coach for Garrett Wolf as well, but that was Jordan Lynch. Jordan Lynch and Dave Doran, and then turned it over to Rod Carey.
Okay, so Easton, our research team, says that top 25 is not required. The highest ranked group of 5 champion.
Right. I'm just saying.
So you got to win the MAC championship.
I may or may not have
look, again, it's not crazy.
But this is part of why it's my good news, because I can sit here and be like, hey, Northern College Football Playoff. And it doesn't end tomorrow when they lose to Buffalo, right? I get another week of being hey.
Sure. Yeah, I did miss this. My fault, Andre. Super Chat says, I want to see good decision making. Stat line doesn't mean much to me right now. Josh Allen will have a great stats and lose the game with turnovers. So that's the Will Levis what to expect against the Jets.
Which I wanted to poo-poo as well, because Josh Allen is so good and winning games with Matt Collins. So
I mean, he's winning games with James Cook last night. I mean, hidden beneath the Tua concussion is how bad the Dolphins were.
Oh, yeah.
Before that.
For all the hype or the hype around how bad the Bills might be, looking pretty good.
Yes, absolutely. All right, guys, that's it for us on this Friday. Great week of shows, whether you were happy or mad during it. We had a really good week of shows. Also, tomorrow, I will be a part of the Vols halftime and post-game show. Jonathan Crompton's going to be in Neyland Stadium, so we're going to try to test the Wi-Fi strength with Cromp in the stadium. So we'll see how that goes. I don't have high expectations, but we'll give it a shot. But make sure you hit that like button on the way out. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. I'll also see you with Easton on Sunday at 11:30 Central Time for our pregame show right before Jets at Titans. We'll catch you guys later. Sam's got Titans at 2 later today. Buck Rising's not done for his week either with the 615 session. So we'll catch you guys throughout the weekend. Be safe. Appreciate it as always.